Alright, doing a front main seal on a 7.3. Just pop this coolant reservoir off. I'm draining the fluid right now into a container. Just as I'm doing this, about to knock this line off, we got to pull the fan off. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Pull the radiator out, and then we'll knock the balancer out and get the front main going on. We got to get this other bracket here off. I'll get the fan shroud loose, knock the fan blade loose, start pulling everything out, go underneath, and take the hoses underneath off, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. Quick tip on any fan, I've never done it another way. I take my pry bar and I put it on the side, of course, that you need to smack of the nut, and you just smack it with a hammer and it'll act like an impact and it'll take it loose. I've had some really tight ones, and that's the way to do it. And just like that, the fan's out. Like I say, as soon as you hit it a few times, you'll make a little groove to where your pry bar will stay, and you just give it some good knocks and you'll get them off and come out easy. So now, about to go down, pull that hose and that hose, the transmission cooler lines, and then the radiator will be out of the way. I'll be able to get my puller on the balancer, knock the balancer out, take the front cover, the low pressure oil pump housing off, which holds the front seal, and we'll get her swapped right out here in just a jiffy. Gotta get the belt off, and I'll be back here in just a minute. If you don't have one of these kits, you need to quit jacking off and get one. They're really handy. Just like right now, I'm about to pull this transmission cooler line off, and it's going to be dribbling, make the concrete a mess. Some customers really care about that, so these are super handy to stop that versus having to have all sorts of fittings and stuff, you know, right threads, so on and so forth. There's the where we're getting to, right up in there, and we're only about 10 minutes into this deal. We're already almost there. It's took more time to sit here and video and talk than it has to just get the work done, so let's get her done. Alright, you always want to make sure that when you go to loosen the fitting that you're not spinning the brass, because you'll spin the whole assembly and you'll just twist up the line and everything else. So you need to, sometimes you need to hold the backer on this insert to the radiator. Just letting you know. Alright, we're just about done draining. We're gonna take off this lower radiator hose here in just a second, and then the radiator will slide right on out. Always be careful letting the radiator fall forward. Like if you're just holding it and you go to pull off this mount, for instance, like see how far the radiator's falling? I have one time pulled a mount off like this and the radiator fell forward and hit the snout of that, and sure enough I had to put a radiator in this truck. So always be careful when you let go of stuff that it's not going to go somewhere else. We just got the radiator picked up out of there. About to rip this belt off, take the front pulley, the crank bolt out, and then we'll pull that balancer and we'll go from there. Alright. There we go. Alright, now we'll grab our nifty little puller, wherever I put it. There we go. A modified claw puller that'll grab them, and we'll get her out of there. Alright, we got the old balancer out. Now it's just 4 8mm bolts to pull this cover off here, and then we'll put this seal in. Alright, we're about to get this seal tapped into place, and then we'll go on to reassembly. That seal in, what I do is I take another big hammer and lay on it, and then smack the hammer and just walk it in. Done it 100 times. Get a new seal in there, and then we'll get her put back on and get her reassembled. So the seal they sent was wrong, so I am using anaerobic gasket maker because this is the low pressure oil pump. A lot of people will use silicone in places they shouldn't. So you can see this overlay that squeezed over, and when I clamp this down, there's going to be some squeeze And if that was silicone, it would get into the oil galleys and it would stop. It would become hard and it will stop up the oil galleys and cause a huge mess. It'll ruin a motor. In this case, you want to always make sure to use anaerobic gasket maker. This stuff's $100 a tube. I call it grape jelly. It smells like grape jelly. It's really good. But this will stay liquid. If it hits oil or anything like that, it will stay liquid. It does not turn hard until it is compressed. So this is the only time you would ever want to use gasket maker near oil or an oil pan or anything like that. Try to always use anaerobic. All right, we got the new stuff put in here. They're 10 mils, not 8, by the way. But there's 4 of those. Now we're going to throw in the new balancer and put the belt on, throw the radiator in, and so on. So, pretty easy job. And all it takes me about 45 minutes start to finish, just busting one out. So, give or take 30 minutes, well, an hour to 2 hours to somebody that's not done 100 of them. So, here we go. New balancer's in. Just got it started, got the bolt started, run it up. Run up real easy, and then all of a sudden it stopped. That's what you want. You don't want any kind of crushing action going on. We're going to throw the belt back on, throw the radiator in. We'll throw the radiator, get the fans done. We'll do all this top first, get this done, and then we will go on and do the bottom, because it's just up and down versus up, and get it done. I always try to go through the front of the housing. I see a lot of people trying to reach behind it to sit here and do this versus letting this sit up here like that, and then you can get right to everything with both hands. So that's just another little tip that some people don't know. All right, we got everything up top back on. Everything's tight, everything's done. Now we're gonna go underneath real quick and just throw this little stuff down here back on. And then we will put all this fluid back in it and go from there. All right, got her running. Still got some more to put back in it, but running good. She ain't leaking or dry. I already done checked it. Get a good zoom on it. Right there. Looking good. Looking good. And that there is the front main seal on a 7.3. This is easy as can be.